Are you ready to see the moments that broke football? Moments that defy logic, physics, and everything we thought we knew about the beautiful game. Get ready, because these are the 10 football moments that science still can't explain. First up, Roberto Carlos, 1997, Tournoi de France. Brazil vs. France, a free kick from 40 yards out. He lines it up, takes a ridiculously long run-up, and unleashes a shot with the outside of his left foot. The ball starts miles wide of the post, so wide a ball boy standing 10 yards away ducks for cover. French keeper Fabien Barthez doesn't even move. Why would he? It's going out. But then, something impossible happens. The ball hooks, it swerves, it bends at an angle that seems to break the laws of physics, and smashes into the back of the net. Scientists have tried to explain it with something called the Magnus effect, but no computer model has ever perfectly recreated that trajectory. The sheer velocity and curve just don't add up. To this day, it's called the impossible goal. Next, we journey to the Premier League. Picture this: Pep assist for Newcastle in 2012 against Chelsea. The ball comes to him on the right side of the penalty area at a ridiculous angle. He's off balance, almost falling away from the goal. With the outside of his right boot, he strikes the ball. It travels in a banana-like arc, swerving viciously from outside the box, over the world-class goalkeeper Petr Cech, and nestling into the far top corner. Commentators were speechless, fans were stunned. Sis himself looked like he couldn't believe it. The physics of that shot are a nightmare to calculate. The combination of power, spin, and the almost non-existent angle makes it a 1 in a million strike. Experts still debate whether he meant it, but even if he did, how did he actually do it? Let's go back to a moment of pure magic from Ronaldinho. Playing for Barcelona, he receives a pass at the edge of the box. Surrounded by defenders, there's no clear path to the goal, so he does something no one expects. He fakes a powerful shot, making the defenders and the goalkeeper brace for impact, but he doesn't shoot. Instead, with the slightest, most delicate touch, he slides the ball under the jumping wall of players and into the net. The genius wasn't the shot itself, but the psychological manipulation. How did he know the wall would jump? It's a level of game intelligence and foresight that seems almost psychic. He saw a future that no one else on the pitch could even imagine. Now for a moment of goalkeeping that defies belief. René Higuita, the Colombian madman, in a friendly against England at Wembley. A looping, misplaced cross comes towards his goal. Any other keeper in history would catch it, but Higuita. He lets the ball sail over his head. Then, in a moment of pure, acrobatic insanity, he jumps forward, arches his back, and clears the ball with a 2-footed kick over his own head. It became known as the scorpion kick. The risk was immense. The technique was unheard of. The decision-making was baffling. Why would anyone even attempt that in a professional match? It's a move so outrageous, so illogical, it's less a football play and more a piece of performance art that just happened to work. How about a goal that was never supposed to happen? Mikael Nilsson for IF Göteborg. He's near the corner flag, a position from which scoring is statistically impossible. He whips in a cross, or at least, that's what everyone thought he was doing. The ball flies at an absurd angle. It looks like it's heading out for a goal kick, but then it takes a sudden, violent dip and swerve, flying over the stranded goalkeeper and into the top corner of the far post. The bend on that ball was so extreme it looked like a special effect from a movie. Players on both teams just stopped and stared, confused. Was it a freak gust of wind, an insane amount of spin? Nilsson himself just shrugged. Sometimes, even the player can't explain the magic they create. Let's rewind to the legend himself, Diego Maradona. During a game for Napoli, he's surrounded by what feels like the entire opposition defense. He's juggling the ball in a sea of mud, with no space to move. Then, in one fluid, inexplicable motion, he spins 360 degrees, somehow keeping the ball glued to his foot, and escapes the trap. It wasn't just a dribble, It was an act of escapology. The ball seemed to be a part of his body, tethered to him by an invisible string. The close control, the balance on that terrible pitch, and the spatial awareness required to pull that off are beyond normal human capability. It's moments like these that made people believe Maradona wasn't just playing football, he was bending the game to his will. Here's another one from the Premier League that still has people scratching their heads. Tony Yeboah for Leeds United, 1995. A long ball is headed down outside the penalty area. Yeboah chests it, lets it bounce, and then unleashes a thunderous volley. The ball rockets towards the goal with such power that it cannons off the underside of the crossbar and bounces down over the line. The sheer ferocity of the shot is one thing, but the trajectory is another. It barely spun. It was a pure, straight-line missile that seemed to gather speed as it flew. Goalkeepers train their whole lives to read the flight of a ball, but there was no reading that. It was just a blur of raw, untamable power. Physics can explain power, but the purity and violence of that strike were otherworldly. Now, a moment of phantom movement from Lionel Messi. He's dribbling at a defender. He feints to his left, but his body barely moves. The defender, however, completely collapses, falling to the ground as if his legs were swept from under him. Messi just strolls past. It's called the body feint, but Messi's version is so subtle, it's almost telepathic. He doesn't just trick the defender's eyes, he seems to trick their brain. Neurologists might talk about reaction times and cognitive processing, but when you watch it in slow motion, there's almost no visible cause for such a dramatic effect. It's as if Messi sends a signal directly to the defender's nervous system, telling it to shut down. Remember Cristiano Ronaldo's header against Sampdoria. He didn't just jump, he levitated. A cross comes in, and Ronaldo launches himself into the air. He reaches a height of 8 feet and 5 inches, meeting the ball and powering it into the net. But what's truly baffling is how long he stays in the air. He seems to hang there, suspended in time, waiting for the ball to arrive. His hang time was recorded at nearly a full second. Athletes and sports scientists have studied it, but the combination of the vertical leap and the duration he remained at his peak height is unprecedented in football. It was a feat of athleticism that seemed to defy the very law of gravity. Finally, the hand of God. Mexico, 1986 World Cup quarterfinal. Argentina versus England. A high ball loops into the English penalty area. Maradona, one of the shortest players on the pitch, goes up for it against the towering goalkeeper, Peter Shilton. Somehow, Maradona gets to the ball first, and it ends up in the back of the net. The referee gives the goal. Argentina celebrates. England protests. Replays later showed the truth. Maradona had punched the ball into the net with his hand. The unexplainable part: how did nobody see it? Not the referee, not the linesman. In that split second, from every angle, it looked like a legitimate header. Maradona himself famously said it was scored a little with the head of Maradona, and a little with the hand of God. It was a moment where cunning, luck, and a complete breakdown of perception created football history. From impossible curves to gravity-defying leaps, these moments show us that football is just a sport of rules and tactics. It's a stage for the unbelievable, the unexplainable, and the purely magical. Football is just a sport. Sometimes it breaks its own rules. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable moments.